Just because you hear the silence, that doesn't mean that I'm being quiet. I'm praying. My head, my heart, my chest, my stomach, my hands, my knees, my ankles, my feet. Those visibly steady, many times they're uneasy in so many ways. Good afternoon, Dr. Mack.
Good afternoon, Pastor Shirley. I do
We
like
are
the
so
new I do like the new theme, by the way.
all right. Well, thank
And the
you. I
quote
put it
has
together.
always and that quote has always been one of my favorites. Just because.
Just
Just
because.
because.
Yes, ma'am. Hello, everyone. We are here today with the Mother's Board. This is our second webcast for the year 2025, and we are so happy to be back. So happy. And so, Dr. Mack, would you pray, please?
Father, we come before you today doing our Mother's Board podcast. We ask that you look upon us favorably and realize that we are trying to do things for the good of our community, for the body of Christ. Father, we do not plan to malign or make uh, a situation that can be turbulent. We want to bring clarification into situations that we are in now. These and many blessings I ask. In your name, amen.
Amen. Thank you so much, Dr. Mack. So I am excited today. We have so many wonderful topics for today, and I love it when you send in the suggestions, and then I'm able to add a few whenever
Yes.
I feel like it. And I am just so thankful. So we are going to get started because we really have some interesting topics to talk about today. And I thank you for them. So we're going to get started because we have, I think, what,
Yes.
14 today, but they're really, really good because, hey, there's so much to talk about, especially after, what was that, Sunday?
Tuesday night. His
Tuesday
address was
night.
on
Okay.
Tuesday evening. Yes.
Okay. So much to talk about. So, starting with our first question, or what was one takeaway from the televised address to the nation on Tuesday night?
Well, Pastor Polk, I'm going to let you give your first takeaway. I know you
Oh,
had more
uh,
than one, but if you can give one, I'll go ahead and start. The one thing that
okay.
he did say that I liked, my grandfather always said, try to find the good. So the one thing I did like that he said is that let's make English first, making
Yes.
English our official language. Uh,
Hmm.
we did some travel on the Euro and in those countries, many
Uh-huh.
of them spoke perfect English, but they would not because, like in Germany and France, their language is first.
Hmm.
And from a budgetary point of view, uh, when you don't have to put in bilingual and dual languages, you can do some other things. Uh,
Right.
that I've always considered that sort of an unfair situation when the African American kids would come in speaking the way that they spoke. They label it Ebonics, but there was no class. There's no dual language
Hmm.
class for Ebonics,
Hmm.
but you had dual language for everyone else. And schools
Hmm.
had multiple labs for people coming from other countries. I just always thought that wasn't quite fair, really. Ebonics, no.
Well, yeah,
And what
so
was your
true.
takeaway?
Okay, I there were five, and I never did get back to those other two.
Oh no,
But
let's go all five. Let's do all five.
the language, the sports, not allowing men to participate in women's sports. And there was one other, I wrote it down. There was another one, the sports, the language, and I'll have to come back to that. But
Okay.
those were two because there were five things that I agreed with him on. Just five that made sense to me. But one thing about it is I did force myself to watch it
Yeah.
because I
Listen.
know that I need to know what's being said as well as all of us do. But some people said no, no, no. But I did hear what he said, and I saw things that I really agreed with as far as if you don't agree with the person, you don't have to sit there and skin and grin and clap because somebody's watching and all of that. And you can do it in like the silent protest that the Democrats did. Well, most it was like 99.9%
I must smile.
silent that they did. I admire them for that
Yeah.
because these things that are going on, the thing I said, I know that probably 98.9% are going to be false statements and gratifying himself and pushing himself up. And I knew it was going to be a long one, but I stayed through it. So those takeaways were like the five things that uh, I'm glad that he had the gumption to say. So maybe they'll be held up. I don't know. But then there were other things that were not true. Of course, we knew that they were coming. And then another takeaway that I had that it was just so noisy in
Yes.
there before he he came in to start talking. It sounded like it was just terrible. It sounded like uncontrollable mobbish uh, stuff going on, and it didn't sound like a dignified, sophisticated meeting like it was supposed to be. And just those things are my takeaways. And it seems like it could have been better, but you portray who you are when you're really not thinking about it. And so I thought about that. I said, so that is what's really happening with all this noise and jibber jabber and all of that we heard in the beginning. That's a lot that's going on right now. So now I'm going to leave that alone.
Well, the noise that you're talking about, I thought about a collegiate football game before the national anthem is played. I thought that's really and whatever you want to do. If you say you want to be joyful, but I thought it was uh, rather undignified. I'll just use that word, rather undignified.
Right.
You are
Exactly.
anticipating for a person who has a title that should be respected to come in.
Right.
But here you are. I mean, it sounded more like you were at a concert, you know? Yeah.
And even I haven't heard a concert so noisy like that before. I mean, it was just like
I
terribly
know.
noisy.
Yeah.
It was awful. It was annoying to me. But
Yeah.
of course, I guess I'm going to find any little thing.
Well, for
I
me, it
wasn't
was
looking for it.
it
Say it again,
detracted from the
please.
message. I thought the noise detracted from the message. And let's
Oh,
share
that
this.
part. Uh huh.
Yeah. You remember when he was at the National African American conference? This is when he talked about the microphone not working and the position of the vice president and all that. They were not noisy at this conference. Remember, it was in Chicago. But what it bothered me is that okay, bro, you're a little bit late here. You talk so much about getting started late at that conference of black journalists. You you know you can't stop time. You're not Zeus, you know. But and that probably heightened some of the attention because I was flipping between the networks and was saying, well, he has, no, he's in the beast, he's just arrived, he's in the ante room. I'm thinking, okay, you're late. You're absolutely late. So I don't ever want to hear you talk about black journalists again because
Wow.
technology does not always work. They had a reason. I don't think you did.
Right. Of course not. Why does it do things? Because he feels like he can. So, hey, so even though I don't agree, not even 99% with him, but I do still pray for him because, I want the best for him to give the best for us. I'm putting it like that.
Yeah.
And so I do pray for him. And I know you do too. I know you do too. So when people hear this, we don't want them to say that we think by what we're saying that we hate the man, but the man is just wrong and always has been. And it's showing up each and every day by the people surrounding him. All right, Dr. Meg, do we want to go to the next one?
I don't have my questions in front of me. Do you have the
Okay, do
second
you have,
question?
yes, ma'am. Do you have a better understanding of the authority of Doge? Okay, DOGE. Why or why not? And that we know that stands for the Department of Government Efficiency, something that they tacked on. So my better understanding of what it is, I understand what it is. It's just a way to, I understand what they're saying that they're trying to do, even though they're going the wrong way about it. It could be done, it could be more tactful, and if it needed to be done. But we know that people are trying to show their power that they have been given. And I understand it. I understand what they're saying. And I understand about this. They're trying to cut back on spending, they say. But even when they cut back, where's the money going? It's not coming to us. Now that's what I say. So yes, I
Yeah.
do. I do have a better understanding of the authority of Doge, and I guess that's why I understand what they say they're trying to do. I might not. That's me, Dr. Mac.
well, well, I like thought of what happened yesterday when there was clarification given from the Oval Office that rather than having a separate department, sort of like when we worked in industry, we had the efficiency. You remember when you used to get those efficiency checks when someone would come and spend the whole day with you, checking out how long it took you to do whatever, whatever.
This and
Well,
that. Mhm.
well, yesterday the clarification made much more sense that now the persons who are in charge of those departments will be making those cuts as opposed to the a third person making them.
Mhm.
There's an adage when a new person comes into a position of authority, a new broom
Mhm.
sweeps clean. Well, here's the problem with that. You need to take time and actually see if that is going to be the case. If what you're
Right.
cutting should be cut, you know, don't take. Now,
Right.
I realize there's a lot of technology being used, AI and all this. I understand that. I accept that. But you're talking the livelihood of people. I've been here
Right.
30 years at the VA, or I've been in USA 10 years or so, or I'm on probation to go into the Department of Education. Um, but let's
Mhm.
just see. Don't do mass cuts. And I think someone spoke to him. Let's don't do mass cuts because these are people who I realize they have lawsuits, but that could take a while. So let's don't just cut because you think you can cut and then have to bring them back. That's the bad part. You have to bring them back after you laid them off because you realize you shouldn't have cut them to begin with. And yeah, I agree
And
with that. Have a
yeah,
better understanding.
and then threaten them and give them a deadline and try to, because you can't get in touch with them. They can't get in touch with them after they did what they did, cutting those jobs and all of that. And then they're sending those messages. If you don't get back within such and such a time, you're going
Right.
to be fired and all of that. When all of that didn't need to be done anyway.
No, no, it didn't.
Mm-mm. It didn't need to be done anyway. But okay. So any more, Dr. Mack, on that?
Well, I agree with you. I do have a better understanding. It's the strategy and the process that it's been used that doesn't sit well with me. And I think if you just listen to the town hall meetings, it's one of those situations where it's okay for you to cut, lay off thousands of people until you get to my city or my state, and you're
Mm-hmm.
talking about the constituents that elected me. We have all this political play. Is it's something else, but I think it will eventually level out. At least I hope it does. No one should just be let go.
Nope. And it will level out, and some of the people who are doing these things won't be around either, because just like they're doing what they're doing, that stuff comes back around to you. And we
Yeah.
can see the signs now that people are getting tired of a certain person, already tired. They probably didn't want that person up there in the beginning, but because that person has so much leverage.
And money.
Hmm.
And money.
That's it. The money brought about the leverage. And so
Yes.
he's just out of control, out of control. But they're reeling him in. They're going to reel him in, and they go finally, what is it, cast him out?
Right.
Oh, yes. You're going to
Uh,
be cast out.
yeah.
All right, Dr. May. Do you accept the rationale of the still to be imposed tariffs, whose new date of implementation is April 6, 2025?
Well, if I may say, I think it makes people nervous when you keep moving the date. If you tell me
Hmm.
something's going to happen here, then I'm sort of ready for that. I was watching an interview with the guy, an automobile person who does parts and things. Um,
Hmm.
you know, he's like, well, maybe we have 10 days, and maybe we have 14 days. You know, but my the question regarding the rationale: how can you say you're going to increase tariffs and not hit the consumer? You're going to increase the cost of the direct consumer goods. That's just plain
Right.
logic. And don't tell me it's going to hurt for a while. Usually, when you start like that, it lasts for a while. It lasts for
And
a
keeps climbing. Hmm. Yes, ma'am. And especially this morning, I was hearing them say that it, cars will probably go up about $3,000 from
while.
where they are now. And then, of course, we see other things rising, but of course, it's being laid on the former president.
Wow. Right.
The things that are happening that didn't happen until after he was out of office. But then, they say things carry over. But there's so much going on, and we, the consumers, are the ones that are going to pay the price.
Definitely pay the price.
Yes,
I also
ma'am.
thought that was a negative point in the very long address. There was no need
Hmm.
to say that because we know it hasn't been that long ago. It's not like you're in your third year. Yes, we
Right.
all know you. This is your fifth time there, and you're better than the last time. But you know, we don't have to down one person to make ourselves look great. It's not necessary.
Right.
It's not.
But when it's your practice, hey, what is this? Can a zebra change its stripes? Can a leopard change its spots?
Yes,
No.
Jeremiah.
Yes,
Book of
ma'am.
Jeremiah. Yeah, book
It
of
can't be
Jeremiah.
done.
No.
It can't
Well,
be
you're
done.
right. You're so right.
Uh huh.
Mm. But I
Unless
do
they're
think
skinned.
You're right about the cost going up. It is. And don't tell me it's inflation. Just, it's going up.
Right,
I know that
right.
if I have to drive further to get my avocados, then it's going to
Hey,
cost me more to eat avocados.
uh-huh. And then I look at, well, okay, rationale of the tariffs. So anyway, I I don't accept any of that stuff. The rationale, the none of that, because it doesn't have to be. And all it is a power play just because he feels like he can do anything he wants to and have no repercussions. But it's not so. It's not so. And I don't accept all of that because we know, just like we're saying, it's going to trickle down to us. Trickle down to us. Number four, what do you think it means when the administration continues their efforts to demolish the Department of Education and return schools back to each respective state? Now, that's your expertise, Dr. Mack.
Well, we need to remember what it was like when the states had that much. And the federal government basically, except like in the state of Florida and the state of Louisiana, like in Florida, they're writing a new curriculum, rewriting history. In the state of
Uh-huh.
Louisiana, that you can put the Ten Commandments up, but what about the kids who are not Christian? They could be Gentiles, and but anyway, you just want to, how do you placate those persons because you're looking for not necessarily you being reelected, but your ideology continuing. There needs to be a centralized place where things come from, you know.
Hmm.
And it's true. I moved here. I moved to Texas from Ohio. I had a brand new teaching certificate in Ohio, but I had to go through Texas and do everything over again, just like I'd never done it, because you got to have
Wow.
that Texas certificate.
Hmm.
But you look for some place where everything, at least some things, major things can be agreed upon, and you
Hmm.
need someone to take a look. But don't hold the funding over the heads of people who are in charge of education in this case. But it could be the military, or it could be um, I don't know, sales. You know, I don't think it is going to be fair when you bring it to the state. It's
Okay.
not going to be anywhere close to being right.
Okay. So that's why we had that. That's why it went uh, national in the first place, right?
Right.
Because it wasn't
Right.
right in Texas.
Remember
But
separate but equal? That was the
yes.
catch-all phrase. Well, they're separate
Okay.
but equal, but hey, well, in this state, these schools north of whatever get new books, new labs, money to spend. These kids south or whatever, they get to use books and they get whatever's left over. No, that's really not the way it should work.
Hmm.
It should not work that
Yeah, because I remember that talking about the books
way.
when we were in school, and this might be on like what you were saying, like when we were in Terrell School, and we say we've got new books, we've got new books, and we open them up, and two or three children's names in them,
Right,
maybe four or
right.
five, it
You
might
know,
be full, and they just handed them down to us from the other schools.
yeah, that's right. See,
Hmm.
we remember that, and I'm afraid there are people who don't even know that. They don't even know that kind of thing existed, and we're sort of circling the wagons back in that direction again, and
Oh
that's not
yes,
the way it should be.
not the way it should be, but they're trying to take it back. And people have been saying that for quite a while now. They're trying to undo all of the good things that make us close to equal and give us the right to have and to get just like everybody else, but they're trying to take it all back. And I was thinking about that guy where he came from, the one that's hopping around up there and that's
Yes,
doing all the talking,
yes,
most of it, he came from South Africa, didn't
that is correct.
he?
That is
Hmm.
correct.
And
And I think about
what,
that too.
yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. But anyway, we're supposed to talk about school, and I just got off topic.
Well, it sort of goes all the way around.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Because I was thinking about apartheid, and I said,
Mm-hmm.
that's where he
Mm-hmm.
came from,
Yep.
and the women's rights and all of that. And
Mm-hmm.
they've been talking for a while, and they've already started taking protection away from women now.
Yeah.
And so
Oh
they're
yeah.
trying to accomplish something, but it's not going to work. It
I
is
don't
not
think
going to work. So number 5, did you agree with the censured Texas Democrat Al Green during the
so.
televised national address on Tuesday night?
That's the Pope.
Is it my
Yes, your turn to go first.
I agree. Be-
Yeah,
because he
he
was
was
out of bounds.
wrong. He was wrong. He was.
He was wrong, and he knew it, but he was making a point,
Yeah.
and then pointing out they could have put more into it than they did,
Yeah.
because he was pointing that walking
Yeah.
that cane.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. And so yeah, he should have been put out because they did warn him. But he
Or
knew. He
numerous
knew that he
times.
was going to, huh?
Numerous times they warned him. Two,
Yes, they gave
at
but he
least two
knew.
from
And
the podium.
it, he said what?
At least two times by the sergeant, at
Yes,
arms. At
ma'am.
least, and he just kept on. But that's a Texan for
He
you.
was prepared. That's what his goal was, to get put out. And so they did it. And so he walked on out, but they didn't put their hands on him, though, did they?
No, no, they didn't. No, they didn't.
No,
Yeah,
ma'am. They didn't
I,
touch him.
I agree with you. He
He's
he he knew he was prepared for the consequences, and the word
yes.
censure. He knew exactly what that meant, and he knew it was gonna happen, and it did. But I'm surprised that the other Texas person, the female one, walked out also. But I shouldn't have been
Okay.
surprised, should I? Because we're talking about Crockett. We're talking about our representative, Miss Crockett. She walked out also.
Hmm.
Uh, but her
Well,
head
because
was down. I didn't see her walk out. I saw her with her head down at first. Looked like she was reading or
okay.
writing something. But
Well,
I
it's
understand
something.
feeling that passionate about it.
I do too. I do too. And it's enough to just sit here at home and watch and listen to it. Just think, having to sit there in the midst of all of that. And so they did good, stayed in there as long as they did.
That was a long speech. It was
It
real.
was too long, but I knew it was going to be long, and I said, "Well, I'll be prepared for it," because that's him. That is him. Okay, Dr. Mack, are we going to go
Yes.
further?
We
Okay,
both
number
said he
6.
was wrong and he deserved to be censured.
Yeah, he did, and he
Especially when
knew
they
he was
tell you
going to get
don't do it.
put out anyway, so it didn't.
Yeah.
He knew it. Number 6, do you think that it's time to reconsider the legal avenues that allow parents to refuse to vaccinate their young children to remain in school? Hmm.
Well, uh,
Reconsider. So, is it
we,
is it law is
yeah,
it lawful?
if parents don't want their children vaccinated, you can't come in under them and vaccinate the kids. You can't do
Oh,
that.
right.
Mhm. And
Oh no.
Texas has a real, a real thing. You know, now it is in direct conflict with the idea that when a child enrolls in school, he or she has 30 days to get vaccinated. But children don't
Hmm.
vaccinate themselves. Parents have to take them to, clinics for this to be done.
Right.
But is what does it say? How do you feel that uh, Takima Maisha did not get vaccinated, but um, go Algolia whatever did, and then you bring your measles to to class, and everybody gets measles. You know, there's
Mm-hmm.
nothing you can do like that. To you can't force the kid not to come to class.
Okay. Okay.
By
So
law,
is there
by
not?
law, if they choose not to vaccinate them,
Okay.
yeah. And what's
So you
happening?
can't keep them out of class.
No, no,
Oh, okay.
that's no, no. That's why they're setting up the measles testing and vaccination site in
Okay.
Tarrant County. Now, Dallas ISD had what 91%, and another
Mm-hmm.
district had 91%, but Tarrant County was in the 80s and mid 80s. That means that 84% of their kids are vaccinated, and the remainder are not. You see,
Okay.
that was why so many people like we don't want Kennedy as the secretary because he's saying don't do it. But it was really nice to
Mm-hmm.
hear him say during the cabinet meeting, that he spoke for it because I read,
Okay.
let's be fair about this, it's
Right.
like I'm going to go visit Lubbock. No, I'm not right now because they have a health issue there. I don't
Mm-hmm.
care how nice it is. It's not the place to take my children who have not been vaccinated
Right.
because I'm going to
Right.
bring it back.
Right. So now he's saying that he's for vaccinations.
Well, that's in the his statement from the cabinet meeting encouraged parents to do so rather than saying what
Okay.
he has said in the past. Don't.
Okay.
But
Okay.
the pictures scared, But I don't know. I don't. I have, people have their rights, but then when do your rights impose on the rights of others? Your child
Right.
is not vaccinated, catches the measles, and goes to school and shuts the whole school and community
Cool
down.
down.
That's how simple it
Right.
can be.
Right. And one thing about mom and dad is whatever vaccinations we needed, we got them.
Yeah.
And there was no problem in our home about that. Whatever we needed, we got them. Surely did. And so, and I can understand when parents, they don't want people telling them what to do with their children. But then, like some of the people who were against being uh, vaccinated or other certain things, how they contracted whatever they were against being vaccinated for, and some of those people didn't make it.
Right.
And so
I
there are
think
things
about
to
that.
consider too. Yeah,
Yeah.
and then what you're saying, if the child gets sick because they're not vaccinated, and then they go to the school, and then the other children catch it, like some things that are happening now. That's not a good thing either. So, but like, I'm not bothering these parents about what they're not doing and what they're
Me
doing.
neither. Me
But
neither.
you're
I
right.
pray, I
But
pray that they think about their kids and other kids. That's what
right.
I do. Yeah. Because
Exactly. Thank you. Thank
but
you
the
so much.
virus stays in the air for 2 hours. So,
Yeah.
they can cough on my kid anytime and the kid's gonna bring that virus home. And guess what? Adults
Right.
can get measles too.
And then
So
everybody be sick in the home. Okay. So thank you so much for talking about that, Dr. Mack. Number 7, in your opinion, what other precautions should have been in place during the national cheer competition during the weekend? Now, I just heard about that about 2 days ago, and I saw the people running
hmm
and everything. So, do you think that there could have been any other precautions? But they sometimes they don't think that something will happen at certain places,
right. And I think
and
that
some.
was what happened there. I really do believe.
Mm-hmm,
These are all cute little girls and boys and da, da, da. But it was two parents fighting, you know.
mm-hmm,
And then when the pole or the table or whatever fell down, you know what adults do? Oh, those are shots, and then everybody starts run. But
Running, yes.
yeah, it's a big. It's that Cape Valley Hutchinson's a big place, and
Yes.
I don't think you should ever assume that nothing's gonna happen. I think we're at this point in our life where we have to assume the worst is gonna happen and prepare for it. You
That's
know,
right. Be prepared. Yes, ma'am. And I think from now on, I think they have the message now.
I
And
think
I
so
thank
too.
God that nobody got killed or anything because they said there was no shooting. But I imagine when whatever hit the floor, oh my goodness.
Yeah, and it
Because
does sound like a shot. It's
yes, ma'am.
the
Yes,
state fair.
ma'am.
We attended the state fair classic a few years ago, and a table uh, fell up on the upper part, and it was those are
Uh-huh.
shots, and people were running over each other trying to get out. It was a table, and they
My Lord.
announced it within minutes. But the damage was
Uh-huh.
already done.
It was
People would,
already done.
my mind. I'm sitting here waiting for something bad to happen. No,
Right.
I wasn't. I'm like, get out of the way. I want to see the band, that kind of thing. But you have to be realistic. These are, what is it, Princess? These are the sign of the times that we're living in
Yes,
right
ma'am.
now. These are
That's
that.
right. And like they say, there's one scripture that says people will be running when nobody's chasing them.
Wow.
Those things are
Powerful.
going on now. Yes, ma'am.
Powerful.
Even though they hear that, and then like you're saying, in the mindset that we're in now, and knowing that something could happen lickety split, and people are really afraid,
Yeah.
really afraid. And then some are so relaxed, but I bet they won't be relaxed. Are they doing something this weekend? They
I'm
have one
positive.
competition this weekend.
I think they're done because I
Oh, are they
think they.
done?
I'm not sure. But I know that the national cheer competition started at SMU with Mr. Herkemeyer, you know,
Okay.
and he became quite rich with the little cheer uniforms and the camps and things like that. But I
Uh-huh.
think they're gone. But there's always something here in Dallas, and I'm thinking,
Always.
don't just assume because it's this little group. And
Right.
well, it's not a little group because that was national. Those were
Mm-hmm.
nationals. Yeah. But
Wow.
I like
Wow.
what you said. We have to remember now, you know,
Yes, ma'am.
put the
We
put
have to.
put the protection there. Do a little better.
Yes. And you know, I bet they'll have it there for the next thing. So now, number 8, as the mayor of Dallas was gracious. Oh, excuse me, mayor of Dallas was graciously accepting the fact that K. Bailey Hutchinson Center would serve as a media hub for the World Soccer Tournament. Did he mention any advantages or benefits for the Southern sector? And I didn't get a chance to go back and listen to him. So I know you did. You
I didn't.
you
I
heard him
didn't.
you heard him the first time, didn't
As my friend
you?
said in the first off place, but I didn't hear anything beneficial. You know, you know. Come on, we don't have a lot of hotels and all that, so I'm just thinking, let's not always think north. Let's think south too, and maybe that's just me. You know, sure they'll get the temporary jobs, perhaps. And that's
Hmm.
temporary, and maybe there's some other thing. But when the planning is done, let's try to
Hmm.
make it equal. You know, we realize we don't have everything they have up there, but include us
Right,
at the table. Let us at least have a seat at the
right.
table to sit down. But I didn't. But if someone else did, you know, I know he said it would be good for the city of Dallas, but I want to remind everybody South Dallas is part of Dallas. It is. It's a good part. Just gets bad press.
Oh yes, and you know when I was in Denison, lived in Denison, we used to hear things about Oak Cliff,
Mm-hmm.
and I thought that was the worst place in the world. But
Mm-mm.
I was living in Denison, Oak Cliff. And so when I came down here, I had no idea I lived in Oak Cliff until
You
after
were
I was
in.
in Oak Cliff. And
You
I
were
said,
in up there.
all that negative that we had heard for years and years, and I'm right here in the heart of Oak
Oh,
Cliff and didn't even know it. Thanks be to God. I'm gonna undo this camera and
well,
uh,
I lost your picture.
yeah, the camera went off. Okay, so we didn't hear you didn't hear him say anything about
I, I did. Nothing specific, and I was listening very hard. I
uh-huh.
always do, you know. Wow.
Oh my goodness. That's but anyway, they seem to forget about us, don't they? Well,
Sometimes.
my picture didn't come back, but that's okay.
Oh, I
Now,
want to come back.
I'm going to bring it back in just a few. Number 9, do you believe that there will be a marked increase in enrollment in faith-based private charter schools if the school voucher bill is passed? Oh yeah. Hey.
I know that many people do think that,
Uh-huh.
and I don't know. I'm one of those who believes in both public and private schools. You know, I don't think you can just say, "Oh, this is a public school and it's bad." I don't do that. Or
Uh-huh.
this is a a faith-based school and it's great. I just,
Uh-huh.
schools are schools, but I think perhaps more people will think about it
Uh-huh.
because they're talking about this is going to help those with low test scores and things do better. That's really not what it sounds good when they say it, but the
Mhm.
reality is not there. You
Mhm.
know what I'm saying?
Yes.
You know, because sometimes the private schools, charter schools, aren't located in the neighborhood, and sometimes you're going to have a large number of people who are already on waiting lists and things like that.
Mhm.
I don't think we should just buy into the governor saying, you know,
Right.
this is going to. I'm not going to buy into that. What do you
Right.
think?
We have to consider the source, as you said.
Wow.
Consider the source. They think alike. And so, pushing something in because they're trying to do something because somebody wants it real bad. But I think that there will be probably an increase in the
Hmm.
enrollment in the beginning, but then it's going to taper off.
Yeah.
And then probably many of them are going to go right back into the system that they came out of before they went into that system, because it's not going to be like they think it is. They're saying one thing and other things are on that paper, all that pork and all that. And some
Yes.
people think, just like I heard someone saying, well, you'll get $10,000 per student, and they were saying
Yes.
11,000 was it for children with disabilities?
Yes.
Maybe a little over 11,000.
Right.
But then they're going to be, I believe they're going to have some kind of stipulations in there where certain schools will not get as much as certain schools.
Oh, yeah. I think that you're right. Well, I know you're right. We need to read the fine print and then
Yes,
make sure
ma'am.
we have an understanding because
Yes.
you can sell me anything. However, the reality is not what I bought, so
Right.
it's important that we look at it really, really hard.
Exactly. And so that's where they're going to get people. They're happy and everything for this. Finally, we'll be able to send our children where we want them to go. But they don't understand that some of these schools are much, mm, if they want to call our schools, well, the public schools bad, many of those other schools are worse. I remember Mike Kell and them, they used to play football against one of these Christian schools, private schools. And so they were doing more cussing out there on that field.
than, than, than the kids from public school, right? Yeah.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. So hey, everything that what do they say? Everything that glitters
Is
is
not
not
go.
gold.
Is not go.
And many people will find it out, and then they'll have start complaining about this and that and the other. So hey, I don't know, but I believe they're going to discriminate against certain schools with that money.
Well, I sort of figured that because again, we're looking at what's happening in this 89th legislature. You look
Uh-huh.
at who's pushing it, what part of the state are they from? You know,
Uh-huh.
it's sort of like a what's in it for them situation. You know,
Exactly.
uh,
Exactly.
I hate to see it done with the kids, though. I truly do.
Yep.
Kids need every shot. They don't need any political playing going on. But they
Hmm.
do. You have to deal with it.
Yes,
They
ma'am.
have to deal with
Yes, ma'am. So, do you believe anything said during that Oh, this must be mine.
it. It is bad.
Did you believe anything said during the televised talk? Is there anything that he said that you agree with? And we kind of went over
Yeah.
where we agree with him, and like there were, what is that, three other things that I agreed with him on, but I didn't believe not
It-
three quarters of the stuff he said. I did not.
I just,
So,
it's the same thing I've heard. It was just written better and definitely presented better. From what he was saying on the trail. And those who support say, well, he's making what he said a reality. Well, you can sign all those executive orders, but they're not laws. They're not
right.
laws. Let's not get excited. Those are not laws.
And
That's
right. And they depend on people not knowing that they are not laws. And so many people abide by that. And they say, he made an executive order, and so those of us he gives to deliver them or initiate them, we have to do that. But then they are not laws. But
right,
some people don't know that.
right.
They
Just
don't
like
know it.
saying I'm going to destroy the Department of Education. Only Congress can do that. He has no
Supposedly,
he has no power to do that. You know,
supposedly, but
and
we've seen.
and notice what they're doing. That advisor we were speaking of, they're sort of pulling his claws in a little. You know, the someone speaking to the person in the chair saying,
Mhm.
this is not not the way it's supposed to be.
Right.
But and I'm hoping he's listening. I doubt it, but I'm hoping he's listening.
Well, when you got that head on you where nobody is right but you know how that is. You know how they do. So, oh my goodness, these are good. So I didn't believe, like I said, not three quarters, not even. I didn't believe it.
I agree.
Okay, number 11. When the cameras came on, we talked about this too.
Yeah.
Before the talk, it was awfully, awfully noisy in that place. To me, it sounded mobbish and chaotic. It was just ridiculous. That's what do you think? And so you already talked about. You
Yeah.
wanted to add something to that?
No,
Okay.
it just didn't seem like someone was someone of that stature where that person was getting ready to come in. You know,
Mm,
I don't say you have to sit there and have a firm upper lip, a stiff upper lip, but at least get quiet enough and put yourself in the right frame of mind
right.
so you don't lose your temper later on because only you can control that temper. So
Right. But it still goes back to that's really the kind of people that are there.
yeah,
It's really them. And I could tell from all that noise. I said, this is what the makeup is. I've never heard it that noisy before.
I haven't either, and
And it
I,
was terrible. It was terrible to me. So anyway, but that's who's there. Number 12, what do you think about how the Democrats conducted themselves?
I approve.
I
Except
do
for
too.
Mr. Green, he didn't have to be from Texas, and he did. I
But he
know I
and
don't
I
know too much about him. I
uh-huh.
really don't. But he chose, and I give him his right to choose to behave the way
Right.
he wanted to.
Right. And Mr. Green was wrong, but he knew when he
Yeah,
knew
he
he was
was.
going to do that. And
Yes,
so he did it. That's what he was planning to do.
right,
And so he did it. He knew he was going to get kicked out. So I admire him for standing up and being, what is it, brave enough to do what he did and let him know, I don't agree with you. And I'm not going to stand for it. And so he did do that, even though he knew he was going to get put out. But thank God for phones and tablets and all that, so he could still listen to what was going on inside.
right.
But he knew the
Yeah,
consequences. But I admire him for taking a stand like he did. And so there are groups. There's always one that they know will take a stand, and so they'll let him take a stand for the whole group. And he did.
the
Okay.
scapegoat.
Yes,
He was the
ma'am.
scapegoat this time.
Yes, ma'am. But I think the Democrats really held themselves together.
Yeah, I do.
And I like the idea of the fans, and like that man hollered out at President Obama, liar. Well, they had it on their fans, according to what I just read. They
Yeah,
had, and then say he called himself a king, and they said that was on some of the fans too.
yeah.
So I don't know, but anyway, I'm glad they sat there, and they were sophisticated. To me,
Well,
they held themselves together.
I, I had no problems with them or the
Me
colors
either.
that they chose, and
Right.
the facial the facial structures. Most of them held it together. They were pleasant. They
They did.
they were not like Margaret Taylor Greene or some of those other people. They weren't
Right.
rude. They weren't
Right.
that. Yeah, I
Right.
don't have to agree with what you're saying, but I do will let my actions speak because
Right.
I'm not going to give you the satisfaction of seeing my reaction when you're sitting there talking about it. That we're not going to applaud or we're not going to cheer for anything that you say. Well, you know that. Don't
Right.
look for it. Do not look for it. You know it.
But it bothered him because
Yes.
more than twice he said something. Well, maybe my group
Hmm.
on this over
No,
here, and they just sat there and looked at him.
that
And
is
if they wanted to
exactly
hold the
right.
fan up or whatever they wanted to do, hey, they did it.
Yeah.
So I'm glad they stuck to their guns or whatever. Oh, I'm so happy that they did. I'm so proud of them now. If they would just do stick together and work together
Yeah.
to get things done for us, that would be really, really good. So maybe that's the beginning, hopefully, because they really did stick together.
And I'd like to see more of it. And
Me
I
too.
don't know what I'm not one of those pontiffs, like James Scrabble or any of those or Donna Brazil. I don't know exactly what they need to do, but I think they are elected officials and they need to get together and decide, as you were saying, take one thing at a time, take it
Right.
down. And you cannot win doing his battle. You need to, be like Joshua in the Bible, get on those, pray and get another strategy, maybe
Mm-hmm.
one no one expects. But you do need to do something before this gets really out of hand because it can get so far out of hand that you can't get it back.
Exactly. And then another thing, I'm going back. I heard on the news that they called that guy in, the one that's doing all the talking and all that,
Mm.
the one they call the
Mm.
co-president.
Yes, I
Uh-huh.
know of
But that
whom
little
you're
boy
speaking.
said, what did they say? The little boy said, go away to that other one. You're not the president. So
Well,
anyway, they
he
said
was,
they called that
he
guy,
was only four. He was only four.
and he was just saying stuff that he had heard.
And
Mm,
that sounds like Fresh agrees with
it
me.
is.
He
He's
agrees with me.
probably ready to go outside. Okay, so we talked about the Democratic fan campaign. I'm okay with that.
Yes, I am too.
Okay, uh-huh. So what do you think about the display of solidarity. So we talked about that too. We agree with it, and I'm so
Oh
happy that
yes.
they held themselves together and they really proved something to me that they can keep it together and that they can work together on a common goal. And the common goal was to do exactly what they did, and I am so happy that they did, Dr. Matt. Wow, we made great time. So would you like to give some remarks and talk to our audience?
well,
Anything you would like to close out with?
well, I
I'm
just
going to try to
read
get my camera back.
I read just before we came on that there had been a request made to move the Declaration of Independence into the White House. And of course, now the advisors are saying no to that. It's a very old document, and
Uh-huh.
it's so, it would, they don't believe it would survive the move. But the reasoning there, or speculation there, is that it would make the person who made that request feel more historically relevant, you
Mm,
know. And I'm thinking, come on, that can't help you. You're gonna have to do some things for everyone, and it doesn't appear that you plan to do that. It doesn't
wow.
appear. But I try not to stress over the little stuff, not even the tariffs, because
Mm-hmm.
that's anybody knows that if you raise price up, it's gonna have to come down. Someone has to pay the difference. And you keep talking about the countries are going to pay. I don't think so. Um, but we have to be blessed. We have to remember where our blessings flow from,
Right.
and keep that in mind, and try to
Yes.
keep good things in mind instead of thinking of things that'll get us quote unquote censored like
Right.
like
Right.
Mr. Green. We don't need that. But we do have to unite and put some of our petty differences aside. Well, really put all of them aside
Right.
and look at what's happening. Don't assume, but look at it, even though it may be difficult to do.
Right.
And I would like to invite people to tune in on Wednesdays at 1 for From the Biblical Files of Dr. Matt.
All
And
right.
we are
Yes.
in Second Corinthians, and we will be talking about the women of the city of Corinth and the Greek who had very strong African ties. And I appreciate the time that I've been able to spend with you.
All right. Thank you so much, Dr. Mack. And everybody, I concur with Dr. Mack. And I hope that you and pray that your weekend will be great, or whichever day you're watching this, that your time will be great and that you are highly blessed and favored by the Lord. And we
Yes.
just thank you so much for being here with us. And we ask you to share these webcasts because someone somewhere will be helped and will be informed through these webcasts. Thank you, everybody, so much for being with us. We love you, and God willing, we'll see you next Friday. Just because you hear the silence